Do some student horns actually have a hidden high of sharp key? Which brand of flute ligatures actually work better on the saxophone? Is the Selmer Mark VI really just a Mark VII with precognition? Which of these popular reed brands is secretly laced with a synthetic hormone? Discover all this and more on this episode of Saxophone Secrets. This one. Hi, and welcome to the Saxophone Academy. I'm Dr. Wally Wallace, and if you're interested in saxophone masterclasses and product reviews, please do subscribe and be sure to hit the like button to unlock the mysteries of your octave key. Now, before we begin, I have to say a huge thank you to all of those that helped me get caffeinated this week. I really appreciate you supporting the Academy, and I think you'll see this level of caffeine reflected in today's B-roll. Especially, I really appreciate your support in helping keeping serious saxophone journalism like this free of charge for everybody. Now, today we're talking about saxophone myths, and let me know in the comments below which saxophone myths or rumors are driving you nuts. But there's a couple floating around in the saxophone zeitgeist that are driving me nuts that I want to address today. So let's dive in and talk about some saxophone myths, starting with if you've been on YouTube in the past 2 years and have keyword saxophone anywhere in your search history, then you know what I'm talking about. These videos wondering, is a pro saxophone a waste of money? Does a pro saxophone sound any better than a student horn? Can this $300 saxophone sound just as good as my $1 million platinum-plated Mark VI saxophone? Well, the short answer is maybe, but it's missing the point. The fact is, a student horn, when we're just speaking about tone quality, can sound like a pro horn in the hands of a pro player. In the hierarchy of things that affect your tone, it is the player, the reed, the mouthpiece, the neck and vocal taper, bit of a ligature, and then the saxophone. The saxophone does impact your tone quality, but it's pretty far down the food chains of things that help you get your tone quality. So when listening back to a pro versus a student horn, they can sound very similar, especially when you're listening through your iPhone or computer speakers, where high fidelity is not really the priority. And depending on your preferences of tone, that slightly stuffier student horn may sound darker and kind of be your preference in sound. That's not uncommon to find, but it's kind of missing the point. Let me explain. Let's talk about running shoes. Bear with me. Usain Bolt, to my knowledge, may be the fastest sprinter on earth. Say you went to Dollar General store and bought the cheapest shoes you could find, and you told Usain Bolt to please put on these shoes, and then he ran. You may say, he's just as fast in these cheap shoes. Expensive shoes are a waste of money. Well, not really. He could be just as fast in the cheap shoes, like a pro horn may sound similar to a student horn in the hands of a professional, but that's missing a big point. Are those cheap shoes going to hurt his feet? Are they going to fall apart? Is he going to develop bad technique in running, trying to keep the shoes from falling off his feet? How long will those shoes last? And when he does have to go to the cobbler to get the shoes repaired, how much do they cost, and how often is he going to have to go to the cobbler year after year? You kind of see where I'm going with this? The fact is, you could probably strap 2 loaves of bread to Usain Bolt's feet. He's still going to be very, very fast. Faster than you and I. That doesn't mean that good running shoes are a waste of money, just like a pro horn. There's many things to consider beyond just tone quality, and when I'm picking a pro horn, I'm not really thinking about tone quality that much because I sound like me on almost any saxophone, student or pro horn alike. So when I play pro horns, I can generally feel a little bit more resonance, more free blowing, depending on the brand, but that's only one of the tiny pieces of the puzzle I'm looking at. I'm looking at ergonomics, quality of materials, intonation, longevity of the brand. Is this a brand that's fly-by-night, or have they been around for a while? Am I going to be able to get service and support in parts of the saxophone if I need it? On many of the cheaper horns, you're going to get a lot of micro leaks due to inferior pad seating, bad pad quality, not round or level tone holes, and a whole bunch of other host of issues that's going to give you playing problems. It can actually affect your playing in the long term. I've had students with very poorly made saxophones. In order to get them to seal, they get gorilla grip. They really have to smash down on the keys, and they will seal a little bit better. That really develops bad habits for technique. Likewise, it can send you down a rabbit hole of chasing reeds and mouthpieces, wondering why you're not getting a good sound or low B flats not speaking, when the whole time it's the cheap horn that's holding you up. Let's not say cheap, let's say poorly made. And every country makes bad products and good products, just to be clear. There are good horns coming out of almost every country on earth that manufacture a saxophone. We're not talking about a country, we're talking about the quality of the manufacturing and parts and integrity of the brand. And interestingly enough, some of the cheap saxophones will actually cost you more money in the long run. It's kind of the opposite of luxury cars. When you buy a luxury car, you pay a lot more up front, and you keep paying more. Every time you go to get your oil changed and the air filter changed, they charge you $400, but they give you espresso while you wait. Saxophones, it's kind of the opposite. The more you spend, in my experience, the less you have to keep spending to keep it adjusted. Better sealing pads, good tone hole leveling, and quality parts and materials mean it's out of adjustment less often. You're gonna spend more time practicing and less time in the repair shop. Now, does this mean I think you should run out and put a $7,000 brand new Selmer Supreme on your credit card? No. You should only spend what you feel comfortable spending, but get the highest quality saxophone you can. And for me, a lot of times that means a used Yamaha or maybe a used Selmer or a reputable brand. It's not exciting. It doesn't have power bells and buttons and whistles on it and may not have the most exciting engraving or finish ever, but it's going to be a quality instrument that gets you practicing and not spending a lot of time in the repair shop. Ligatures. Do you need a fancy ligature? Heck no. I like stock ligatures. I have a small collection that grows every day. When I find a good stock ligature, I can't help but buy it. They're fine. But a lot of people will tell you that fancy ligatures, or the type of ligature, the plating, the shape, or anything else, make no difference whatsoever, and they're a waste of money. Matter of fact, let's ask the hippest guy at the jam session, Johnny Jazz Pants. And back in the day, the cats didn't have those fancy platinum rovers or gold-plated Van Doozels. We just had a little bit of shoestring we tie on there. Maybe a little bit of radiator hose from a 72 Buick Skylark. Just use a little bit of nicotine gum. Stale hot dog bun. Pop it right on there. 2 squirrels fighting over a pretzel. A divorce attorney, Gary. Can you hold the reed on the mouthpiece, Gary? Can you at least do that? Oh, Linda. Now, grumpy guys at the jam session and armchair acousticians seem to think plating and material make no difference in ligature. But a lot of really good players think they do. And I can tell you firsthand, I've owned 2 Bay Baroque ligatures, one in gold-plated, one in rhodium. They feel very different. Now, notice what I said. I didn't say they sound very different to you. I said they feel different to the player. And that's been confirmed by some of the players I respect most in the world. And that's important. Even if you can't hear the difference in the back of a concert hall, the player feels the difference. I don't care if you can hear the difference, I can feel it, and I'm the one that's got to play the equipment. So I'm going to choose equipment that not only sounds good on recordings into the audience, but also feels good when I'm playing. And you really can tell the difference between the materials and especially the shape of the ligature. Now, beyond just tone quality and response, we also need to think about the function of a ligature, which is sealing a reed to the mouthpiece. Is it doing that? If the ligature, no matter how fancy, doesn't do that, I find it a big failure on the part of the ligature. And even beyond that, how hard is it to get the ligature on and off and change reeds? Because if you're like me, you're going to be doing that quite often. Now, we used an analogy of shoes for the saxophone, so for ligatures, let's talk about pants. Say a pair of pants is comfortable, and they even look good, so they serve their purpose. But say every time you take a couple steps, they fall down, that's not good. And if that happens often enough, you're going to be asked politely but firmly to leave the wedding reception. So pants, they need to look good and feel good, but also serve the purpose of staying up. And they shouldn't be too hard to take off and on. That would be silly. Ligatures are the same way. No matter how good they look and sound, the function matters. Are the screws easy to work? Is it easy to slide on and off your mouthpiece without creating gouges and scratches? There's some fancy, fun ligatures that do all of that very well. So if you like it, buy one. If not, stock ligatures are A-okay. Reeds. Have you noticed how some brands have almost a cult following these days? Like the people that are endorsing this brand are getting a little bit overzealous about a little piece of cane. Well, I have a confession. I love Boston Sax Shop reeds. I also love Van Doren reeds. I also love D'Addario reeds. And there's a couple others I'm probably not thinking about that I love as well. I love Kane reeds. And all of the big brands, in my opinion, are making very good reeds. Now, you may be thinking, that's crazy, Dr. Wally. I know a guy that says this brand is terrible. I opened a box of Van Doren of 10, and there were 12 bad reeds inside that box of 10. Yes, we all hear stories about this, but there's a little bit of confirmation bias, a little bit of experience, a little bit of expectancy theory going on. Let me explain. First thing you'll notice is that the more years you're playing, the more developed your embouchure and your sound concept become, the less concerned you become with reeds. Sure, you can tell the difference between great reeds and good reeds, but I find as the years go on and your embouchure becomes more developed with your sound concept, reeds start to matter less and less, and you can get more reeds playing out of the box of 10. And then it's a matter of finding the balancing act between strength and resistance between the reed and your mouthpiece, which depends on the facing and the tip opening. So it's not so much the quality of the magical cane of this one specific region of France as finding the brand that consistently makes that strength, that resistance level that works well with your embouchure, your unique oral structure, and your particular mouthpiece. And I find a lot of brands are great at doing that for me and meeting my needs. So which reed brand should I choose, Dr. Wally? Which kind of reed should I buy? Well, I'll answer you. But before I do, have you already hit the like button? You already hit that? We're good? Okay. The best brand of reeds are the ones that make you want to practice. Don't throw stuff at me. That's the truth. I don't really care what brand you play. I don't really care what brand I have. I just want to practice. And if they're approximating the right strength, I can make them work. Not that huge of a deal. So let me know in the comments below which gear myth drives you nuts, but don't go too harsh on any particular brand. We desperately need the corporate dollars, my darlings. I'm going to see you next week when we start to dive into a big block of education on the topic of improvisation. I've been thinking long and hard about this topic. I'm very excited to bring you the series of lessons coming up in the months ahead leading into the summer. So let me know your gear myths, and in the meantime, go practice.